Hello, all. My name is Bob Latino. I'm representing the co-learning community today for our webinar with Mr. Andy Barker, with the assistance of Jessica Morgan, as many of you know. We're going to go ahead and get started. I want to thank Andy, first of all, for being a part of this. I'm going to give him an award because he has broken the record for the number of registrations that we've ever had since doing these webinars. And I think we officially had about 225 on there. So this obviously is a topic of interest, and we look forward to getting Andy started here. I'm just going to go ahead and give a quick bio, and then I'm going to turn it over to Andy and let him go ahead and do his sharing. With over 25 years of experience, Andy has delivered beneficial, sustainable, organization-wide engagement that improves more than safety and well-being. Having worked across the US, Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and the Far East, Andy can demonstrate improvements at both industry and country levels. Andy's hands-on experiences as a client, contractor, consultant, and hands-on practitioner in diverse industries include energy, healthcare, hospitality, infrastructure, logistics, marine, mining, oil and gas, and pharmaceutical industries. Demonstrates how he understands how to create the cultural shifts necessary to improve performance through people in complex organizations. That's quite a diversity. That just demonstrates that the tools that he's employing are people-centric as opposed to industry-centric, and they apply in any situation. So with that, I am going to, the way we had a conversation earlier is that if anybody wants to ask questions, Andy's open to taking them during the presentation. And as I see them in the chat, what I'll go ahead and do is I'll convey them to him at an appropriate time. Other than that, we'll wait till the end and we'll go ahead and hand it at the end. So with that, Andy, if you go ahead and share your screen, you should be able to go ahead and bring up your slide deck. And I'm seeing it, so we should be good to go, Andy.
We're good. We're on.
We're on.
Very good. Well, that means you can hear me too. So we're ticking all the technical boxes so far, which is good. So yeah, hello everybody from the Middle East. I'm calling you from Bahrain, where it's what 7 o'clock in the evening here. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is you are. So we've got an hour, I guess, and what I'm going to do is just thank you, Bob, for the introduction, and we're going to take you through 3 case studies from diverse industries, from different geographies, to do exactly what Bob said. It's a people-centric approach. It's a principles and values approach that transcends boundaries, industries, and cultures. So with that, I'm going to ask some questions, and hopefully some people in the background can help me out with this. So what I'd like you to do is either put in the chat or shout out loud if you're brave enough. I'd like you to make a short list. Single words are better than paragraphs and stories, because there's quite a few people here. But I want you to think about what you want from your boss. And I want you to think about what your team want from you. And it'd be great if you could pop some words in the chat, shout them out loud, whatever you're comfortable with. Hey, we've already got trust, appreciation, honesty, collaboration, benefit of the doubt, support, purposeful work, respect, recognition, transparency. Yeah, we've got a couple of transparencies there, reinforcement. So help to grow, prioritization, recognition, courage, patience, involved only when needed. Yeah, there's a couple of meanings to that one. I think that's one we go back to later. Listen, empathy. So I guess we didn't distinguish between boss or team with some of those words. Would anybody say that it would be different? recognition, challenge? Or do we kind of want the same things from our bosses as we think our team wants? Same. Yeah, thanks, Katrina. Listening, open-mindedness. Thanks, Lauren. So yeah. So thank you very much for those contributions, right? And I think that most of those words would resonate with all of us. And with any luck, we'll get this. So whatever words that you wrote down, if you think of E as being an emotional need and R rational, right? So E is the openness and the support and the transparency kind of thing, help with problems, and R beside rational. So I think you can do that for yourself. I think most of the words we got there were pretty much E focused, right? They're emotional needs. We want support. So what does that mean? So I want to show you this. This was work, a survey that was completed. I think the first time was the late 1940s, where the survey was, here's 10 things. What do you want? And as employers, what do you think your employees want? And interestingly, employees way back then said, we want appreciation. We want to be in on things, right? If the decision's been made that affects us or tell us what's going on, right? We want to be in on that. And we want sympathetic help with the problems that we've got. Now, those are prioritizing emotional needs over rational. Employers see it the other way around. We prioritize rational needs, right? Oh, you got a good job and you get paid, right? Your job's secure. What are you on about, right? You've got promotion and growth opportunities. That's cool, right? But they're misaligned. They're misaligned, right? And they're so misaligned, actually, that the top three things that employees actually say they want are the bottom three things that employers actually think they need to give to you. The survey was repeated just about 10 years ago, and it's exactly the same. So the little exercise that we've just done just confirms to me that actually what we want is emotional support, right? Recognition for the work that we're doing. We want to be involved in decisions, and we want help with problems, right? That's kind of what motivates us at work. So if you take this a little bit further and think about Maslow, and I apologize, I was told not to do high-level theory, but I'm going to do a little bit of background. So I've messed with some of the words with Maslow because I think I wanted to illustrate the linkage between individuals and companies, because every company is a collection of people. So the rational stuff is right at the bottom end of Maslow's needs. If you think about hierarchy of needs, if you think about what you need to do your job, right? I need knowledge, I need method, I need equipment, I need a workplace that's, fit for purpose. If you give me that stuff, I'll get the job done for you. When we get treated with respect, when we get a sense of belonging, when we get appreciation from someone that matters, right? I think about a thank you from the boss just for doing your job, right? Not above and beyond or competitive or anything like that, right? How far will you go for that person? So if you then equate that to, reimagining Maslow a little bit again from an organization, if all we ever do is focus on what you need, that piece of equipment, the procedure, the training, whatever, people are going to come to work, just going to get your job done. That's great. If we treat you with respect, if we listen, right, you get you in on things, we listen to you, what it is you have to say, then I'm going to find out context. And if I get your context, I'm going to be able to make better decisions, right? Work is imagined, work is done, however you want to phrase it. If I can create through my business practices a sense of belonging and contribution of value to organization's purpose, a way that gives you meaning, right? We're going to open up, I'm going to get better problem solving, I'm going to be more resilient, I'm going to get learning and growth. A thank you goes a hell of a long way to innovation and creativity. So the point is, if you can redesign your business practices along the very values that we've known for 50 years, right? Everybody intuitively knows this. We know what we want. But how do you create the business practices that fulfill your needs as an individual? Because that's how the organization is going to get what it needs. So I want to tell you a story. So I want to tell you a story about this gentleman. His name's Ewan, and in this picture, he's a 22-year-old barman, and he's been hired to run the cocktail part of the, just outside of a 5-star hotel. And he's doing well. He's given a position of responsibility, and the business is doing okay. And he went on holiday. He went on holiday for a week, and when he came back, he's the boss. He went in about 15 minutes before opening time, which he didn't have to, but he was always there early. And he opened the door, and there's nobody there. Right? Last night hadn't been cleaned up, and if anybody works in hospitality, the end of the shift, when all your clients go home, you stay behind, you tidy up, and you get ready for the following day. So the day shift has an easy job. None of that had been done. Stock rotation hadn't been done. Never mind preparing for the day. So Ewan's all by himself, running around trying to fix things, and staff come in with their heads down, right? Staff start coming in. So he's, help me with this and help me with this. And then customers start coming. When it quietened down a little bit, he went round everybody and said, I don't understand. Everybody here knows their job. Everybody here has been given everything it is that they need to do their job. It's all there, right? And you were doing it, right? And then I come back after a week's holiday and nothing's happening. What's going on? So he went round everybody, and consistently people said, we asked for help because we needed help while you were gone, and nobody came. Nobody came for help. So we figured out, well, you don't care, and neither did we. And to be honest, we thought you were coming back tomorrow. So, what's the moral of the story, right? I should, to finish the story, Ewan said, wait here. And he went and shouted at the big boss and dragged the big boss down in front of them and said, I want you to listen to what these people have to say. And they said, we just needed some help. And the big boss said, do you know what? That's entirely fair, and I apologize. We'll get you that help. So the moral of the story, people, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I'm sure you've heard that expression before. But Ewan exhibited care and support, and he used his position as a boss to get you what it is that you needed to be successful. And he got a social following, right? You value me as a person and what I do as an individual. So I'll do that for you, but I'm not going to do it for that guy. So so Ewan, now I think this photograph is now I think a month old, and this is Ewan picking up the award with the rest of his team for the best bar team in Scotland, in one of Scotland's high-end cocktail bars called Tabac. If anybody here is ever in Glasgow, go to Tabac, tell them you know Ewan, he'll sort you out. So if you look after your people and you give them what they need to be successful, guess what happens? So I'll introduce you to some other people that I know that are helpful. Nicole is in the top left, and she works for a semi-charity, semi-government organization that is set up to help you if you can't afford your energy bill. So if you're sad and unhappy and frankly embarrassed because you can't pay your energy bill, phone Nicole, she'll sort you out and she'll make you happy. Sam, pictured here with Daniel Ricciardo, if there's any Formula One fans here, works in recruitment. So if you're not happy with your job, give Sam a call. He'll find you a job and make you happy. Cameron in the bottom left, seen here in his stage clothing for pantomime, teaches, he's going to be 17 soon. He teaches kids stage acting, right? He brings out confidence in children. He brings out creativity and innovation in other children. And Theo and Ollie are up on stage. The one that's missing here is Ewan, here in the middle, picking up the award, his second award, 2 years in a running for the best community pub in Scotland. And if anybody knows anything about Scottish people, we know about pubs. So he's doing okay. He's doing okay. So Speak to Nicole if you're struggling with your energy bill. Speak to Sam if you're struggling with your job. Go watch the other three up on stage and put a smile on your face, and if all else fails, you don't make your cocktail. So these are my 6 children, and I'm their dad, very proud dad. I'm a safety professional. I'm a HOP practitioner. I've done the job for a long time, but I also like to play guitar. And this is me playing at a venue in Bahrain. And the proof of the pudding for me isn't that you got to play once, it's whether or not you get invited back. So I'm very pleased to be invited back to this webinar here, because that's the legacy that you leave behind, right? If things keep going and people enjoy what it is you do, you get invited back, right? So that's that. So I want to talk. I'm here as the owner of a company called OrgTree, and I want to tell you its origin story, right? And it comes from my children. So I gave my children roots in being respectful and being helpful, and to make values-based choices, and live your life how you want to live your life. Choose what gives you passion. Choose, what gives you purpose, what gives you meaning. And they've branched off in different directions, and they're very different, but they're all being fruitful with what it is that they do. But it's because of their grounding, I believe, in values that's connected them with what it is they do just now. And that's what I'm going to talk about next. So I've got 3 case studies to very quickly go through, very different industries, very different backgrounds. The first one comes from a long time ago. I was given a job as head of safety for a Fortune 500 company, and then I was handed a big folder on my first day to say, we are the worst company that a third-party company has ever surveyed for health and safety. Go figure. So I had qualifications and zip experience, and I wouldn't have hired me, but that's the job. So the problem statement is there's tons of accidents, right? And I can point at machinery and the workplace and chemicals, and there's just so much to go at. The solution statement to every problem that was accident related that I could ever see was, come on, we've told them they should be careful, right? And all the employees could put their hand in their heart and say, yeah, I was told not to put my finger in there and I did, right? So there you go. Employees are the source of all problems. So I've got tons of compliance issues and I don't know where to start. But one of the places I decided to start was we've got traffic problems, right? We've got forklift trucks running about all over this place, and every day people are pulling each other out the way and listening to forklift truck horns honking and all the rest of it. But we haven't had that accident yet. So what's the problem, Andy? So where do you start? How do you tackle it? I decided to start at the company picnic. So every 4th of July, because we're an American company, we have a company picnic. Management pretty much hate employees, and employees pretty much hate management. But we put on a company picnic every year and we all come together. So do you think that parents are going to show up and say, let me tell you what I'm proud of at work? Or do you think employees are going to show up and eat and drink on the company's dime, at the company's expense, and just let the kids go and play in the bouncy castle? The answer is B. So I'm looking at this and saying, how can I entertain the kids whilst get over a message that's going to make any sort of difference to the traffic related problem that I've got? So we brainstormed and we kicked things about, and here's what we came up with. We came up with a kids painting competition. We said, kids, okay, what I want you to do is paint a picture of your house, paint a picture of your town, tell us where it is that you come from. So kids painted stuff, and we gave them free home safety things. And I said, thank you very much. And I said, paint pictures of your mum and dad going to work, please. So I got lots of pictures of mum in the car, dad in the car, and I have no idea what was going on with that third one, but whoever that is driving, they needed a road safety tip, right? And we give away road safety stuff, right, for the kids. And then we said, paint a picture of, where your mum works, where your dad works, and we got factories and people and stuff like that from the kids. And then we said, paint pictures of what we built here. So it was a forklift truck company. So we got pictures of forklift trucks and we gave them, free things from the company. Finally, I said, where do we send these things to? And we got pictures of, countries and flags and all the rest of that kind of stuff. And the idea was this. We put a great big mural up at the entrance to the factory so that what you saw was the journey from your home to work to your place of work, the products that we make in the countries that we sold them to. And what we did is we got the names of every single child, of every single worker that worked there. And we put footprints underneath all of this mural walking us along. And then we put the names of the children in the footprints. And then we put the footprints around the factory and we said, please follow safely in your children's footsteps around the plant. And over the weekend, maintenance would put up barriers and all the rest of it. I had no compliance issues. What we've done is generate a sense of belonging, generate a sense of involvement, create an emotional connection through essentially a business practice of how do I protect people from vehicles? And I got zero compliance issues from day one. What happened next was we changed the view of what management was willing to invest in and what employees were willing to do to go along with you. After 7 years, the accidents went away and we were no longer the worst company ever surveyed for health and safety, right? We transformed that by building a different view on what it was that we were trying to achieve and how. Tons of other things needed done. There was tons of hard work needed to be done, but we had the engagement to do it. So I believe in purpose and I believe in meaning on purpose and I believe in values. I was asked to join an infrastructure business. I was already in this company and I was asked to go into the infrastructure business because we had adversarial, pretty toxic relationships between safety and pretty much everybody else in the business. So my goal, how can I flip this adversarial relationship and go beyond engagement? What does that look like? So the context, as I say, is the poor relationship. This isn't a company having lots of accidents. There's a few minor cuts and pulled muscles and things like that with people getting stuck in the mud. But year on year, it's an upward trend. What we did, our business practices, if you like, mostly reactive and corrective in nature. There's not much listening going on. So what does infrastructure mean? This is what it means, right? So we built railways, we built bridges. This bridge here is a $1.5 billion bridge. It's the third largest of its kind in the world. And I was pretty proud that, that was one of our projects. City bypasses, those kind of things. Water infrastructure, and also ecology surveys. And this is where we found one of the issues that I'm going to talk about in a moment. So if you're doing large infrastructure projects, you do the ecology survey to find out what habitats you're going to disturb or otherwise. And that's kind of what that looks like a little bit too. So back to purpose. We were viewed as being a selfish organization out to prove a point, not contributing to how work gets done in a way that helps me contribute to work, right? So whatever you do when you show up, you've got your agenda, you fulfill that and you go away. So I get no meaning out of it at all. So the safety service is very much office focused. And the reason I showed you those photographs is clearly the business is not office focused, right? But the safety guys would go to the office, we'd examine paperwork and give you a score. And scores therefore become competitive, or you could look at it another way. Anybody with a low score gets blamed for having a low score. Inspections, we just looked at the office, right? Check the fire extinguishers and the first aid boxes. A little bit more sophisticated, but you get the idea. And we've got volume-based observations, right? Competitive targeting. Any investigation, it was blame-based. We've looked at maybe employee mid-managerial. You don't want to challenge senior managers because they might give you a hard time. But that's the kind of thing that's going on. Again, our safety performance isn't bad. Our safety services are pretty bad though. So we said, switch it round. right? If you're doing an audit, you're doing an inspection, you do any of those tools, because there's nothing wrong with those business practices, right? There's nothing wrong. It's not what you're doing, it's the way that you're doing it. So instead of fulfilling, have you got one of them and have you got one of them, ask, how can I help you? What do you see that you need help with? And one of the ecologists said, I work near water and I need a life jacket. And I was told, go get one out the cupboard. And that's it. I'm not comfortable with that, but I don't know what I should do. Help me understand what I should do. So we didn't have an answer. We needed help. So we got help from outside, and we walked around and we talked to people. And our policies, our processes, our equipment was all pretty poor, actually. We had, anybody knows anything about life jackets, a lot of them have got CO2 cartridges in. Some of ours did not. There was no maintenance. There was all sorts of things wrong. So we worked with the business to say, what does good look like and what should we be doing? And the outcome of that was a co-owned business practice. And then we chucked people in the swimming pool, right? Because that's the fun bit. So we went through everything, but we threw you in a pool. So you know what it's like when you hit water. We got people with throw lines to understand what it feels like to rescue people. And we told people to pick a rescue point, further down the river where there's a bend and the water goes slowly. That's where you go rescue people. And we had fun, But the key was we didn't do anything to anyone. We did lots of things with people. And we operated with support and respect and transparency. And those words that you gave me earlier on, right, are all present in how it is that we did things. And we got to shared purpose as a result. Now, the interesting thing for me, and I go back to Maslow, that sense of belonging, that sense of recognition generates creativity and innovation. And about 6 months after we finished this, I got a phone call from a water engineer saying, I went on the training, it really resonated, I learned so much, and I worked out how to give this back. Because I engineer waterways for the Environment Agency, I've started putting bends in the river so that people have rescue points should they fall in a water course. And I got that from this course. So if you fulfill the needs of individuals and you're respectful with how you treat them, you get it back. And the respect we got from our client, the environment agencies in the UK in this instance, was you are the first contractor that's worked this out. So I'm now going to go to the difficult one. So having worked across Europe for the most part, I went to Africa for a few years, which was a tough gig. I went back to the company and I decided the HSE as a profession looks like we're kind of holding industry back more than we're helping. So I went to the Middle East and I thought, if I can go to the Middle East and change it, then I've got something to say. Otherwise, I need to pack my bags, go home and just keep quiet. So everywhere I looked, everything's bad, right? Everything's bad everywhere, and it's all the time. And the boss said, we're going to be an industry leader, right? And I'm like, okay. So how do I flip don't care to pride as an industry leader? How do we do that? And where do we start? You can see the backdrop there. Before I showed up, every year of this company's history, and I should say it's a group of about 30 companies. Some of them are quite small, some of them are just a couple of people, but we've got 6 significant construction, engineering, manufacturing, logistics, catering, all sorts of stuff. And we're running about 10 to 15 fatal accidents per year. The Middle East business model is buy cheapest, right? It's a race to the bottom. So if I ask you for money for training, I get laughed at. If I ask for better equipment, I get laughed at, right? Literally mocked for even asking, right? And the safety profession, as I was told by the CFO, you're here because we have to hire you because the client tells us we need people like you, but you're expensive. So that's what I've got. And the backdrop is obviously, I'm not going to go into that, but I'm sure you're aware of the reputation for human rights in the region. So I got a call. We've had a fatal accident. You need to fly here. So I flew to a part of the country, flew to a part of the Saudi Arabia, and I was told a story by a business leader. This particular business was responsible for a large chunk of the fatal accidents that were going on. And the business leader told me a story about how the accident happened. And it wasn't true. It wasn't a true story. It was a story designed to make me go away, right? Because that's what we do, right? So you tell the safety guy a story, the safety guy goes to tell the client a story, and as long as it's a bit of credibility in it, everybody shrugs their shoulders and says, accidents happen, let's go back to work, right? And the story is pretty much along the lines of, well, the employee was told to do something and they didn't, right? That I'm sure you've heard similar stories. However, I now have a choice, and the choice is this. Do I call you out for telling me a lie? And I kind of found out what was going on because I talked to people. Or do I fix the problem that you told me was actually the cause of this accident? And maybe I've got a chance of building a relationship so that I can help you fix everything else that's going on here, but I've got to start somewhere. So the issue that they told me about was dropped object. It wasn't how this person died, but we certainly had issues with dropped object management. And I said, let's fix that then. At which point the business leader couldn't say, no. So I said, no, and it's a real problem, right? So chose to fix it. And I was told, yeah, I don't have any money for that. I'm like, okay. So I found the budget. I found the supplier, I worked with procurement, and I fought with finance to get some money for doing this. And then we came up with a solution, right? Which I'm sure, I don't need to go into details, but when you drop things, if you tie things off with a lanyard, you can't drop them. If you put things in one of these special bags and you turn it upside down, things don't fall out, right? The technical solution is not what's important here. What we did is we told a story. We got the equipment, I gave it to the business leader, and I said, please, can you go out and tell your people that you bought this for them? Because I need to change the narrative in this business. The narrative is, we don't look after employees and leaders don't care anyway. So please go out there and show that you care and give them this and tell them you bought it. So he did. And he was very, very surprised at the reaction he got, because people were like, really? You did this for me? You care enough to do this for me? So again, zero compliance issues from the beginning. Everybody used the equipment. And funnily enough, people were happier, more motivated, and did better work. Now, I shared this story with every general manager of every business, and I shared it with the CEO, and I said, please, can you drop this guy a note? So the CEO and owner of the company wrote to him and said, I want to say that this is about trust, this is about professionalism, and this is about expertise, which happen to be the core values of our business. So what I've done is taken our core values, kind of operationalized them, but told this individual from the board, you exhibit exactly the behavior we're looking for. So now what does that enable? That enables us to find and fix problems, because we're going to say thank you. This is one of the first stories that we got after I said to the safety department, please find people doing good things and say thank you, right? Give me a photograph and a paragraph, because we've just proven it's okay to solve problems. So Mr. Salim here found a hole. There's a 3-meter drop there, and he went and got help. And we didn't do a just culture. We didn't do an investigation. Senior people didn't come down. Your peers didn't tell you to be quiet because you'll get me in trouble or you in trouble, and somebody's going to get fired here, which was the past. We changed the narrative. When somebody found a problem and fixed it, we said, thank you very much. You're exactly the kind of person that we want in this company. So we said the solution is the very core of our values from top to bottom. So now I've got the values, which means I've got the board. I've got the leadership saying, my people did this. And I've got the workforce saying, oh, are you serious? You're going to say thank you if I actually look after myself and highlight a problem? And we said, yes, that's what we're going to do. So what does that look like? We, I'm gonna do a bit of an org tree pitch here. So one of the important things that we try and understand is, are your organizational practices and values in line and adding value? And we find whether or not we've got alignment or misalignment. And we'll start at the bottom of the top left-hand side picture here. If your two boxes different, right? When somebody says blame fixes nothing and somebody else says, I think blame fixes everything, you're going to be talking around the table for an awful long time, trying to work out how to get to the point where you've shifted enough to have a collaborative conversation. If you see the world the same way, you're in the same box. It might be that you all agree that it's terrible, but at least you agree. Now I can have a collaborative conversation that's productive, and we're going to put energy into making things better. Once I know where your culture is, and all of these case studies are about getting the culture in the right place, then all of the tools that I give you, you're just going to make them work. You're just going to make them work. So the bottom left-hand picture here, and I'm not going to enter into the debate how good accident rates are for driving performance or understanding what's going on or anything like that. All I'm going to say is that I showed up in the middle of the graph there in May 2017. So two years before, if you like. And we tracked this to January 21. So as you can see, the orange bar here, the peak there is about 12 recordable accidents in 1 month. And you can see how many recordables that we're having month on month. The red lines are people didn't go home. Some of the accidents that I saw before this time, you know, six people could die in one accident. So that's the history of this company. So it took me about 6 months for people to not laugh at me and, you know, stop mocking me and things like that. And then we got to work. And the graph at the top right shows how we were increasing our capacity to understand and manage problems and drive solutions into the company. So I'd challenge anybody not to say that the more capacity that we created in the company, that didn't help with our lost time incident rate going down, right? So I can track what you create more of, the good things that happen, that make the accidents go away. And I think just a very proud moment for me, about 2 weeks ago, the gentleman on the left-hand side of this photograph is Arun, and he was the head of safety for the company, responsible for most of the accidents that we were having in the business. And 2 weeks ago, he sent me this photograph because he was invited to speak at a client conference because they wanted to know, how are you still growing and doing things? So I left 2 years ago, and we're still being invited to talk at conferences, because once you see how this works, it sticks and you do it for yourself. Because we've operationalized our organizational processes and our values into how it is that we do business. And that's what makes it sustainable. And I'll quote for the first time. Sorry, Bob?
Yeah, I was going to ask if I could politely interrupt with a question that would be timely right here.
Yeah.
Daryl is asking, how did you measure capacity?
If you send me an email, I'll talk to you about that. So I run workshops on metrics, and I run metrics or create metrics that are about quality, that are about value. I teach you governance, excuse me, and I teach you how to measure professional interactions, the quality of professional interactions that generate the right conversations to drive outcomes later. It depends where you are in your journey as to what metric is appropriate to you. It also depends what business practice you want to focus on to create, you know, better outcomes, kind of thing. So there's lots of things sitting behind this. And I say it's 2 years worth of work, but I don't want to give away all of my IP, because I think people are really struggling to understand what to measure. But I'm more than happy to have a conversation about it. And once you suss out the methodology, the philosophy behind it, it becomes very, very easy and transferable to all of your business practices. So I don't think I gave you a fair answer, but I think what you can see on the graph is year on year, month on month improvement in our capacity to manage safety, right? It's problem solving, it's solutions focused, and so on and so forth. So,
Okay,
have I got a follow-up question to say not good enough, Bob?
no, so thank you for the answer, and thank Daryl for the question.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I was just saying there, so Arun, it's really important that, you know, I've seen a lot of consultants that show up and they can make great improvements and then they leave and everybody says, what do we do next? It's really important for me to say that if I can, what we do is help make it stick. And the proof there for me is Arun getting a speaking opportunity at a client who says, tell us how you do this stuff and share it with people, please. And the bottom line here is the first time I talked about HOP, I don't really talk about safety when I talk to companies. I don't really talk about HOP when I talk about companies. I never trained anybody in the 5 principles. What I did was integrate the philosophy into how it is your business works. And once you get philosophy, and I'll say this, if you can tell me what the 5 principles are, it's great, you've got knowledge, but knowledge is a memory test. If you can actually operationalize this stuff, you got the philosophy, and there's a difference. So, first time I'm going to talk about HOP, behavior is influenced by organizational processes and values. And if you can build in respect and listening and support and help into your business practices, these are the kind of results, because that's the formula that I've delivered. Just a quick note. One of the general managers, CEO, if you like, we call them general managers in the Middle East. For I think George ran 3 companies in the Middle East. He watched what it is that we did to transform the safety profession inside the group companies. He then went on to be the CEO of Chemical Safety Software, who are the largest in the world at their niche, which is quite small, but they do really complicated environmental management stuff. Many of the clients approached him and said, do you do safety? And George said, no, we don't, because we don't have anything different to offer than established people in the industry have. But he approached me, about a year ago now, 6 months, a year ago, and said, if we can get out of your head how those metrics things work and how your culture works and how you measure things and so on, and build it into a software, would you be interested? And we said yes. So what I've showed you, these metrics and things, the philosophy is now built into software. And I'm going to come in June to the conference in Vegas and demonstrate actually how that works. I think we've got a workshop where, to the question earlier on, I'm going to take you through the philosophy of how to build metrics, and I'm going to take you through in case studies how those apply in real time and show you how they track. And I've got a speaking opportunity as well, where I'm going to teach you how to tell the stories that build momentum towards the future that you want for your companies, right? So the stories I showed you earlier were leaders leading, and that created momentum for other leaders to be like that as well. So that's it. I think a friend of mine came up with relate and create, and I kind of like that. It's sort of, first you've got to connect and understand what's going on, and if you manage to have a productive relationship, then you can create something from that. That's me, Bob. I think I've even left time for questions.
Absolutely. That was a fascinating presentation. Thank you, Andy. And there's a lot to digest there. I'm going to tell you one that hit home with me as an RCA guy, a career investigator, is that when you take those HOP principles and say that they're not just a safety oriented thing, but it's a way we do business. Because I've learned over the decades is that when it becomes a program and not a process, then it's got a beginning and end of life. So I think that those principles are should be ingrained as to the way we do business, and in a lot of organizations, that's what people strive for.
I, thanks for that, Bob, and I agree, because actually to get the level of performance, I needed to talk to the business at a senior level about helping and supporting each other, and that's because we are here to deliver purpose together. So it's de-siloing HR and finance and procurement and operations and safety and quality. And if you go in to say it's about safety, I've switched them off already. If I say it's about HOP, I say, oh, that's that safety thing, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't talk about that. I talked about how can our organizational processes and values guide us to adapt to how it is that we need to support each other to do work. And that was a conversation they could be part of. They could see themselves in it. And if you can see yourself in it, then okay, I can make progress.
Yeah. And another point, I don't want to take up time until I get questions in the chat, but it's the proactive nature of what you're espousing. Is that saying, oftentimes in my business, you got to go ahead and something bad has to happen before you can do anything proactive. Is that when you did in that case study, is that you went ahead and went along with it to get a win, and get the executive on board, but then you leveraged it from a proactive standpoint and saying, now I'm going to use that across the industry to get the CEO to send a message, and now you're spreading the lesson learned by any way you had to.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's got problems. It's whether or not you're working on them, and what problems is it okay to talk about. I think fundamentally what we did is we made it okay to ask for help. And it didn't matter what that help was. It doesn't matter where it comes. Sometimes if you don't get the right help, it's a bad safety outcome. Sometimes it's a finance thing. Sometimes it's an HR thing. So if you take all the labels off and just go with the philosophy, we're just helping each other out. And once you get over the problems, that's where people come up with ideas. And if you come up with ideas, we're on the path to creativity and innovation. So yeah, thanks, Bob.
I got a couple of things in the chat from Doug. Do you name the name of your session at ASSP in Denver? Does that make sense to you? Feel free to unmute, Doug, if you want to clarify.
Yeah, sorry. Do you know the name of the session that you have at? I'm assuming you mentioned ASSP and the conference in whatever that is, June in Denver. Is that what you're?
No, it's the Community for Human and Organizational Learning conference in Vegas in June. I'm very pleased. Yeah, I'm very pleased to say that ASSP said I had nothing of interest to say.
That's perfect. Thank you.
And Doug, to your point, Jessica just posted in the chat that our conference will be in Lake Las Vegas, June 10th through the 14th, and that's the one that Andy was referencing.
Yeah.
And I want to go up to, and thank you for posting that, Jessica. Daryl had a question. It said each of the examples shows leadership leadership teams in need of recalibration. Were you at to achieve that, and how? And you can, Daryl, if I really screwed that up, you can unmute as well.
No, I think so. Bob mentioned earlier on about the about root cause analysis, right? And I've done my fair share of incident investigations, accident investigations in my time. What I found is that I could always find a leadership aspect at the board level, policy level, if you like, and a cultural aspect. So I'm looking for patterns. I never investigate one accident. I look for patterns. So if you come at it from that point of view, if you can communicate with leadership in their language, right, and they can see how they can influence an outcome from their position, then we're on the go. So to simplify it, if you like, I think what I felt I heard the safety profession do, and I use this language too, right? What we're going to do is make bad things go away by getting people to report more bad things. And what we're going to do is we're going to give you a target number of activities, whatever your processes are, and then we're going to target the number of actions people need to close out, right? And by the way, we're having slip, trip, fall, and working at height issues, whatever that is. All leadership can say is, please perform your activities, please close out your actions, and if you're telling me it's slip, trip, and fall or work at height, let's have a campaign. It's not, they can't respond to those kind of conversations other than do more and do it faster and whatever. So we had to recalibrate what was going on by listening differently and communicating in a different way to the board, in a way that was, how can we create more trust? How can we create better relationships? How can we knock down the silos that we have and have more collaboration? Because that's what drives business outcomes better. So when it comes to problem solving or whatever, at the board level, I'll give you a bit some of my secret sauce, right? At the board level, I got the CEO, the first question, right? Because I'm sure we've all had let's make safety the first subject, right? And everybody struggles and talks about, careful on the way to work when you're driving. And, sometimes those conversations get a bit lost. First conversation I got the CEO to ask was, tell me about a problem you solved for somebody else. And if they don't have a good story, tell them to come up with a better one, right? In the meantime, I've got a whole organization saying, anybody need help? Because help's coming. So what we were doing is generating a different kind of conversation interaction and making it desirable for problem solving. And once you've got the board realigned with help each other out, the rest of it becomes very, very easy. And it's not a complex technical thing that we're trying to get the board to do. It's very powerful. Yeah, changing the dialogue, changing the narrative in the business is the way to go.
Okay.
I'll be talking about that in June.
You got kudos from Daryl for that answer, so thank you.
Wow.
And we have one more question from Amy. You created a myth. It was wonderful in terms of results, but how do you reconcile that with the fact it was all based on a lie? Totally connect to the values, but I also can't get my head around the deception. The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
That's good, right? So we did get rid of all of the accidents, and I never forgot what actually happened. What I got was permission from a leader who was rejecting anything and everything the safety group had to say and wouldn't let you into play. Because I got him the recognition, I got an invitation to work, and that the real reason for that accident I then tackled. Right, the real reason was something completely different from that, but I needed to get somebody's head in the place where they're going to collaborate. I read every single accident investigation that had ever happened, and they all read exactly the same thing because a powerful person was quashing the truth and had done for decades. So I got an opportunity to fix something that was a real problem. Wasn't that problem, but it was a real problem. So we fixed that. He got the credit. He looked good. And then he grudgingly said, okay, you made me feel better. You didn't do what all the safety guys do, which is take a photograph and tell the boss that I'm a bad guy. You actually said I'm a good guy, and you didn't take any of that credit, right? So I then got to work with, okay, now we're going to have a proper conversation about what really happened, and we're going to work together to fix it. And we fixed that one next, right? I can't go through everything in an hour-long webinar to tell you what I did in 5 years, but that broke the narrative of safety guys tell you do bad things, and we tell you that it's employees that are the problem, and I'm untouchable. And it was a toxic environment, but that's the challenge I took on. But we fixed it. Yeah.
Okay.
Did that answer the question? Because I'm more than happy to, to take on the difficult points, because it was a very, 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 very difficult situation to be in. But the message is, if you fix the culture, what comes next is productive and collaborative problem solving. So you got to crack the door open and allow, you know, the relationships to grow where they will let you play with the business, because I think you might be in the same tribe as me, but before you're in a different tribe, and we don't like that tribe, so we're not going to talk to you. So did that answer the question for Amy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I think that's going to wrap up. I want to thank you. That was for me, especially is it was very thought provoking, and it does beg a lot more questions that require more time. So for those folks who can, if you want to talk to Andy personally, I'm sure that the contact information is going to be out. And certainly, if you are able to join us in Lake Las Vegas in June, you'll have multiple opportunities to get deeper into those stories. So I want to thank you for your time, especially you're on Bahrain time, so we're very appreciative that you, with the time zone change, you're helping accommodate us. It doesn't go unnoticed. So with that, I will go ahead. Everybody's giving you kudos and thank yous, and we will go ahead and wrap it up. And thank you very much, everybody else, for your time as well and joining us. And we hope to see you at future webinars as well as in Lake Las Vegas. Have a great day, everybody.
And thanks you, Bob, for the opportunity and the people that showed up. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Jessica, are you with us? I'm asking.
I just spotted Andrew Locking there. Is that the Andrew Locking that I think you are? No, maybe. Hey, Lauren.
Yeah, great job. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
You okay? Your feedback is important.
Yeah, don't worry, I have notes. But it's good stuff. It's really great, and I'm so happy that people got exposed to story and your methodology today. So, yay!
Hey, thank you.
Andy, it is Andy Locking from Portal Cabin.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, good mate. You?
I'm very well. How's life treating you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. I saw obviously your webinar pop up on LinkedIn, so I was like, right, I'm going to go in for that. So yeah, very good as normal.
Brilliant, brilliant. Nice to see you. Right. Well, I'll message you on LinkedIn. Right. We'll catch up. Great.
Yeah, no problem, Andy. All right, thanks, mate. Cheers now.
Right. All the best. All the best. Cheers, mate.
Okay, I think Andy, thank you from a personal standpoint too. I look forward to meeting you in person over in Vegas as well. You know, again, there's a lot of mischaracterizations of what RCA means, and that that just frustrates people us when they go on a label. And there are people that understand how the physical and social sciences work together if you do it right. But there's certainly a lot of people that don't do it that way. So.
No, I agree, and I've spoken with good friend Brian Hughes. I'm sure he's very well known to you.
Yeah.
And I'm a great believer in his work, and I love his tool. I think it's brilliant, right? And we've talked, right? If your culture's in the right place,
yeah,
right, you'll find your answers, right? But you use the tools, use your knowledge and experience. You'll get the answers. I'm not a great believer in people that say that definitely doesn't work and that definitely does, because life isn't like that.
well,
right.
The reality is that if you understand that getting past the person making the decision and understanding the system's contribution is that, unfortunately, a lot of times it takes an RCA to uncover these systemic contributions. But when you go to the field with them, there's never revelations that say they all knew that in the first place. It's just that nobody ever listened to them. So, the proactive part of that is go out and engage the people, and then they won't they don't report it anymore, and you take that as a good thing because you don't get you're getting underreporting.
Yeah, as Lauren would tell you, right? I'm not brave enough to do it, right? But I've been messing with the 5 principles, right? So that events can be avoided, principle 5.
Yeah.
I reworded to say, everybody already knows, just talk to them, right? But what I did, and I see Jake was on earlier on, and I said this to Jake, you know, if you go through your organization, right? Work as imagined, work is done, whatever you want to call it. Said just start with who knows, and then go up the organization till you find out who's surprised. There
Right.
you've got your barrier to communication, right? That's where work is imagined finishes and work is done stops, right? Because all these guys are like, yeah, I'm not surprised. As soon as you find the guy that's surprised, you find the person that's not talking to his people.
Well, and like you said, we're both. I think all of us that do this type of work, we're all in the business of making other people look good. So your case study in there, I get that to the nth degree. So you know, you had to, in order to make a difference, you had to get your foot in the door, no matter which way you could. And that was the tactic you used. So it worked.
That's right, and well, that's it, right? And it worked. And that changed the industry. What we did changed the industry in 2 countries, and we're still you know, like I say, Arun's still getting invited back to conferences because it's stuck. So, you know, I got told a lie, but I chose to fix the problem that I was told was a problem, and then everything else fell into place. So I'm happy enough. I can sleep.
Congratulations on that. Okay, I look forward to seeing you in June, and thanks once again for that was very thoughtful.